Alright, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we have the founder of Play It Forward with us. Play It Forward is an awesome up and coming guild which I think everyone should keep on their radar. So first, let's do a quick introduction. Who are you and what is Play It Forward?
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Cholo Maputol. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of Play It Forward DAO. Before I entered GameFi, I actually spent 10 plus years in investment banking here in Singapore. I've been investing in crypto since 2017. And really, when the pandemic hit, I really dove deep into GameFi, DeFi. And that's when actually I started out my own guild, a very small guild, about 25 players, in July of 2021. And since then, I grouped up with a bunch of my co-founders, and we continued to scale Play It Forward to where it is today. So what is Play It Forward? Play It Forward is essentially an ecosystem designed to try to bring in as many players into the metaverse and into play and earn gaming as much as possible. So we accomplish that by a number of ways. One, of course, is we operate our large-scale guild called Release University, which is now in 2 countries and increasing, and with managing 3,000 plus players, and really continue to bring the very specific brand Play It Forward community building to more and more people. The other part is that we're working on is allowing guilds like us to essentially be able to scale their operations much faster through a number of ways, whether that's tooling, whether it's access to funding. All these things are kind of like stuff we're cooking in the background, and very excited to launch that over the next couple of quarters. Like where we came from, I think as mentioned, I think we really started our guild in the middle of 2021 in the pandemic, when there were a lot of people displaced by kind of like job layoffs and all that, especially in my country where I'm from the Philippines. I really found it very meaningful and very impactful that we were able to bring these people who really enjoyed gaming and enjoyed kind of like the kind of play to earn games that were in vogue at that time, and be able to earn a good financial outcome from that. So I think that's been a very positive thing for us, and something we want to continue. That's why we're here trying to like bring more awareness to our project and see how we can get involved.
Okay. And you said that you had a guild of 25 players and now you have 3,000. So you were able to scale that up very quickly. How did you go about doing that?
That's a good question. So, essentially, in July of 2021, like I started a guild of about 25 people, and the other co-founders were also managing their own small-scale guilds at the time. And we were all high school friends. Like we actually have a very shared history with regards to gaming. Like we all know each other from playing Counter-Strike, playing Dota throughout high school and college years, and that for us was a very, I would say, a very a unique kind of like shared ground that made us very well positioned to take advantage of the play to earn phenomenon. So at some point last year, we said like, yeah, why don't we just group up? We're all basically doing the same thing. Why don't we group up and we try to make it more specialized and try to see how far we can take it?
Okay.
And that's how we were able to scale. And we've gone from having a couple of hundred players in the Philippines in the middle of last year to now 3,000 players in Philippines, Indonesia, and we will be in Vietnam soon. And I think that's really what really was very impactful for us. It's a way for us to really have this community of gaming first kind of like individuals, and for them to be able to get a positive outcome, whether it's financial and community wise or even personal, from this passion they have, which is playing games. And I think that's really powerful, and something that is something that where Web3 can really deliver on this promise of democratizing access.
Okay. And what attracts you to NFT gaming? Is it the fact that, you can help other people and they can earn money from playing games, or is it something that's completely different?
I would say that gaming is probably one of the best wedges we have for adoption of blockchain or crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this being someone that's been in this space as a passive investor since 2017.
Yeah.
I've been like really degenerating into Bitcoin, ETH, altcoins, went into DeFi in like the DeFi summer of last year, but it never really clicked to me. I was still doing my TradFi job at that point. It never really clicked to me like, okay, how can this very esoteric and this very complex kind of like sector really impact lives of everyday people. And that's where GameFi was really what turned on the switch. And that's really where I could see that really because gaming and play is very central to the human experience. I think if you look at even kids, babies, people of any age, they enjoy play, they enjoy gaming. And what better way to onboard this massive community of gamers into the blockchain space than play to earn? It has its faults, it's tricky, it's hard to navigate, it's complex, but as a gamer myself, I can understand the very, very kind of like real satisfaction you have of winning, of getting better at a game, which is really investing your time into making yourself the best player you can. And I think that's what gaming has better. That's why it's stickier than DeFi, for example, because DeFi is all about money. It's all about like returns. Your interest level is only there until until the money is no longer there. Like you can talk about Terra as a recent example. But with gaming, it's like as long as the game is fun, as long as you're interested, you will continue to play it regardless of where the financial outcome comes out.
True. And speaking of that, so what are your thoughts on the current NFT gaming space right now? Because it seems like people are not bullish on this whole side of NFTs like they were a few months ago. So
I definitely see that. We definitely see that with regards to our player base as well, and that's something we track very closely. And what we realize is that behavior changes depending on the market backdrop. So, well, at the start of our journey, when like SLP was at multiples of where it is today, there were players that were coming in and saying like, I quit my job, I want to play this full time, because I'm earning more here than I'm earning in my full-time job. But then once the economics change, the behavior changes as well. So now we have so we still have almost the same amount of players, about 3,000 plus, but a lot of them are really playing it as a side hustle. So they see it as a source of incremental income. They're not quitting their jobs to play Axie full time, but they still really enjoy the game. And I think that's really core to what will drive this whole space forward, what will drive play to earns moving forward, is that games need to be fun. Like players need to keep coming back to play the game, and whether they earn $1 a day or $50 a day, that doesn't matter to them. So for them, because they enjoy the game first and foremost, but also equally like what Web3 enables is they enjoy the community. They feel they're part of something. They feel they have a stake in whatever this community is, this very amorphous guild. And that's, I think, where people like the managers have a responsibility to make sure the community continues to stay sticky, that you continue to engage them, and they can keep them in the space long enough for the bear market to like tide over, and then they will continue to enjoy the benefits of it, right? So we think that there's going to be less attention in the space, but as long as developers ship games that are fun first and profitable second, I think they will still come out on top, and players will still keep coming back.
Yeah. And I agree. There are already a few games out right now that I play just for fun, and the earnings just a bonus. I mean, I have earned, but like I'm not even thinking about, cashing out or selling. And those are the type of games that will win long term. So basically, like, games will no longer be full-time jobs. It's going to be more of a side hustle going forward. That's what your thoughts are?
Correct. And I think that if we think about play and earn, it's actually not new. It's like if we think about World of Warcraft, if we think about like Diablo 2, the very first play to earn game, quote unquote, it's been around, right? So people used to farm, college students like myself included used to just like grind and try to get the best loot and sell them on the gray market. Now that's been around since the first kind of like MMORPG has been around. So play to earn is actually not a new concept. Blockchain is enhancing that experience by allowing for less friction between acquiring the loot that's valuable and getting the value, whereas you had to go through multiple middlemen before you just need to go through an exchange now. So so the behavior itself is already been there, and I think what the current blockchain gaming landscape does is that makes it more predictable for players. Like if I'm grinding this much, I can expect to earn this much because I can see how much that has value. Whereas like I could be grinding for hours on World of Warcraft, but I realized that the character I built doesn't have a buyer. So
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit more predictable, and I think that's the primitives. If we think about DeFi primitives, the primitives of a career in GameFi. Right? So that I think that's very powerful, and we're bullish about that. Because as I said, like as long as the game's fun, people will keep coming back. They don't care if they make $5 or $10. They just enjoy the game.
Yeah. I just made a big time video on TikTok which went viral, and someone commented, you might as well just invest in CSGO skins. Like, yeah, you could. So like the play to earn aspect's always been there, but like
Right.
with CSGO skins, like, you might get banned if they find out. With big time,
Exactly.
you're not gonna get banned. So
Right.
yeah,
And I
that's
feel
a
like
huge
like
difference.
like CS:GO skins are like this stuff like where it's centralized. They have to go
Yeah.
through Steam, right? And
Yeah.
even if you sell your skin on Steam, there's no way to get your money out. Like basically, Steam is aiding your earnings by saying like, hey, you can't actually take your money out of Steam, but then you can buy all these other games where it's like Dota, buy more Dota 2 skins.
Yeah.
It's really so you're kind of like keeping this your money within the same ecosystem. Whereas Web3 is like once you earn that,
Yeah.
and it unlocks, you can take it anywhere and you
Yeah.
can earn anywhere.
Yeah, I think once they realize, I think it just takes one, like so many great games are coming out. It just needs, like we just need one game to break out, and then people will realize the true potential of NFTs in gaming.
Right.
It's gonna happen sooner or later. So
Yeah, exactly. I think that the whole interoperability of it too is very powerful, right? Whereas I guess in traditional Web 2 is like you have a skin in Dota or you have a skin in League of Legends. It's essentially like it's a fork of the same game, right? Which is Dota 1, but it only has value within that specific ecosystem. Whereas in Web 3, there's a lot of potential that is still untapped. I would say that we haven't really seen a game which built on top of an NFT layer that an existing game has already made. So like, what would a game built on top of like Axie NFTs look like? We haven't really seen that, and
True,
and
yeah.
people are not seeing like they're kind of like discounting the whole space because everything's gone down, it's crashed over the last couple of weeks. But what I guess people are maybe discounting too much is that your NFT, while it's gone from $500 to $50, that's only because people are attributing value to that for this specific one game.
yeah.
What about if that NFT can actually have use cases over 10 games? Then
Yeah.
is 50 really the fair value? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the whole sentiment on play to earn, the whole sentiment on NFT gaming is based around how Axie Infinity and Pickaxie is doing. And that's fair because those are the only games that are out right now. But there's like 12 different games coming out. So I think eventually it's not gonna be correlated anymore. But yeah.
Yeah.
So go
Sorry.
ahead. I was just gonna
No.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that's absolutely right. I think there are people are very kind of like. I guess it is a function of bear market. It's really, I would say, a rush to liquidity. So you're seeing a lot of really good bargains out there from an NFT gaming standpoint as well, right? So very good games where maybe they were a victim of their own success. They pushed out their NFTs before the game was live. The NFTs were sold at a very high mark, and no one can earn from it. They're just getting liquidated. But that's not to say they won't have value in the future.
Yeah.
So actually, for kind of like DAOs or guilds, it's a great time to find the value and just really kind of like get in at a very good price and reap the benefits in the next couple of months or years.
Okay. And as a gamer, which up and coming NFT game are you most excited about? Which one would you play the most?
I'm very biased towards personally. I'm very biased towards FPS and MOBA games.
Okay.
A big like CS:GO and Dota 2 player. I used to be. My reflexes are not as good anymore, so I don't play ranked anymore. But pretty good game. Like Cypher is great. I mean, it's kind of like very good MOBA. Like we're quite close with that team. Kind of marries the whole Super Smash Brothers kind of concept plus the traditional MOBAs like Brawl Stars and all that. Very excited about that, and I know there's still some time before they launch, but I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
The other game that I personally like, which I think I will play a lot, is Shrapnel out of the guys in the US that are developing that. Still quite a ways away. Building an Avalanche, but they're basically building this mission-based game similar to Escape from Tarkov, again FPS. So very much kind of similar to like Gears of War, that kind of play style. And for me, that those games are very, very interesting. So
Yeah.
I would say that the underlying theme is that again, these games are fun first,
Yeah.
earning second.
Mm-hmm.
Where to earn a good income, you have to be willing to invest time to get good at the game, understand the nuance, understand really what it takes to be a top level player,
Yeah.
and doing that makes you earn. But
Mm-hmm.
earning is not the first reason you come into the game. You come to the game because like, hey, this game it's pretty cool, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah. I've heard of Shrapnel, but I'm a huge fan of Cypher as well.
Yeah.
So, what is the goal of Play It Forward going into 2022?
2022, we thought it was going to be a pretty strong year in terms of the markets, but really we were wrong in that sense. But
I think we were
we're
all wrong.
yeah, exactly. It's not something that we're alone in, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think what we're doing is we're just continuing to expand geographically. As I mentioned, we're in Philippines and Indonesia. We will be going to market in Vietnam pretty soon in the next couple of months.
Okay.
So we want to focus on player acquisition in a way that's sustainable and meaningful, and really focusing on player development. So we want to identify the players that want to be in play to earn. They want to continue to build a career and play to earn, and we want to enable that. So like a lot of our full-time employees, for example, used to be scholars. So we have a bunch of
Oh, wow.
streamers. All our coaches are ex-scholars. Most of our we have a pretty big games research team, like essentially analysts that look at all these games that we come across as a DAO and analyze them. Like, hey, is this fun? Is this fit for the community? All of these guys were like basically promoted from within the DAO and from within
wow.
the guild, and that's what we want to focus on. So we want to like our mission is to make this really make play rewarding, and that means multiple ways, right? One is financial, but also creating opportunities for players. So we want to enable a future where if you are a player and you want to be, you want to build a career in gaming, not just play to earn, but in gaming, the guilds are the best way to get on board that because you're earning while at the same time you're building your profile, so to speak, your proof of work that you've been with this X, Y, and Z guild, done really well. And that's how you can kind of like progress in your career.
Okay, cool. And could you explain the vision of Play It Forward?
Sure. I think as mentioned here on my screen, it's like exists to make play rewarding, and really that's rewarding as I said about multiple avenues and multiple facets, right? So financial is one of them. So we want to be able to help them really get a good income from doing something they love, which is gaming.
Yeah.
But also it's identifying those players that can be much more and want to contribute much more. And we designed the communities in such a way that if you wanted to contribute in more different ways, we can identify that and we can funnel you and can train you to be much better. So it's like if you want to be a streamer, we give you the tools and the platform you need to build that profile to become an influencer. If you want to be a pro player, like if you want to be strong, you want to develop your skills, we give you the tools you need in terms of access to coaching, but at the same time also get you into the team that we field for esports tournaments, and which we've kind of like done fairly well in the last tournaments we've joined. And lastly, if you want to really just deep dive into game economies and want to analyze, we put them on a track which is more like a research track, so you can kind of be those contributors to the investment community in the DAO to decide which games we go into, which ones we don't go into. So over time, we want to refine that funnel so that we are offering opportunities to more and more people, and we find that talent around, right? So like the vision is over time, the guilds will become just the big onboarders of gamers into Web3. And for us, like we're the filtering mechanism, and we want to promote people that want to contribute more to the community, but also have something really good to offer. And identifying that talent is paramount to us.
Yeah, that's amazing because you guys have so much support system for the existing scholars, not only for a variety of games that they can play, but also you have like a whole ladder that they can It's almost like a promotion from a gamer to an influencer to to a research analyst. There's so many ways they can go to, which is amazing. I don't know if there are any guilds that actually do that. So
Yeah, so I think that's really what we think. So like we want to have a guild where there's something for everyone. So we focus on that from a diversity of games that we offer. For example, so if you're a player that comes in, we don't say like, hey, you got to do XE. You have to do XE before you can start other games. It's like, hey, look at all these scholarships we have. Which one do you think fits your playstyle the best? That's one. But also, we like if you want to just clock in and like play the game and hit your quota, that's also fine. But we don't discourage that. I think everyone has different objectives in joining a guild, but some players we understand and we really appreciate is that they come into these guilds with a desire to be something more, and we want to encourage that kind of mindset that play to earn is not just a side hustle. It can be something more if you really want it to.
nice. And how many games are you guys investing in right now? It's
So
like 20, right?
So we have about, I think now about 30 plus
Oh
partners.
wow, that's
And
huge.
yeah, I mean, it's growing, and we have about 5 to 6 live scholarship programs. The reason for that differential is that a lot of our partners are still in pre-development, pre-launch, but of course we've secured positions in the NFT assets. Once their game launches, we'll get our players on board as soon as we can.
Cool.
But yeah, that's where we are, and we're continuing to look at those games find those games which are differentiated and which offer something that is not in a current offering. So like I said, we want to have a diverse offering so we can really bring on board as many players as we can, different play styles, different genres as much as we can.
Yeah, and I noticed that you guys have a lot of high key investors, and you raised $6 million. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I would say that they're like we raised funding in late 2021, early 2022 when the GameFi narrative was still quite strong, and we had the benefit of being able to lock in quite meaningful like investor participation from very like very top tier funds like Signum, Kyber, UOB, Jump Crypto, as well as GBV and a bunch of other family offices and other kind of like crypto VCs. And really when we were looking at like the fundraising to find partners that had a strong strategic alignment and had a very strong alignment with our vision. And really that was that vision of bringing more and more players into metaverse and then NFT gaming. And they're great partners. We speak to them very often, get their thoughts, especially with this current market. They've seen it before, right? And I think that's really the value that investors, the right partners, and the right advisors give, because we haven't seen as much market turmoil or market dynamics as these guys have, and their advice and their guidance is definitely very, very important in times like this.
Yeah, I was surprised to see UOB on that list. I was like, what? They're getting into NFT gaming? Okay.
I mean, that's the Web 2 to Web 3 story, man. I mean, like we thought it was also very positive, and
Yeah.
There's growing appreciation among the TradFi community around this whole crypto Web 3 blockchain ecosystem, and I think that's very positive for the whole space, right? I think the more that we can bring these types of names into the space, the better it is for the growth of the whole industry.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of important eyes on the Web3 space. I don't think anyone's ignoring it. I mean, no one important is ignoring it.
That's
the
good distinction.
Yeah. And what do you look for when you invest in NFT games? Obviously, the first thing is it has to be fun, but anything else?
So fun is definitely a big factor. So whenever we come across a game that wants to partner with us, the first question we ask is, can you give us a bunch of test accounts? Not a handful, right? Not too many. But we basically then deploy our kind of like game testers and research guys to understand the game, really poke around. I mean, and see whether like if it's fun, right? And some of these guys are very deep in the weeds, really kind of very focused on game economies and also the UX, right? How enjoyable is this game? And then that's part of the criteria that feeds into how we assess a game. Then we also like really look at the sustainability of the token model and the long-term sustainability. Is there enough sinks? Is there enough utility? And what is the token used for? Because I mean, as much as we kind of like wish it were different, a lot of the players in the current play earn and play and earn space are really so focused on cash flow.
Yeah.
And they want cash flow that's predictable, not cash flow that changes 40% every week. So we want to make sure that the tokenomics is well thought through. Of course, once it's out in the market, it's anyone's guess. But as long as we have confidence that the team behind the game has all of this in mind, then I think we have a bit more confidence in coming in and supporting them. And then finally, of course, is community. Like, so we really value how sticky a community is. I think Web3 is primarily, a large part of it is driven by community. And if a game has a strong community, like before guilds come in, means it likely has a very strong kind of like backing from really people, I guess, like us that just want to play games for fun. So we were somewhat wary of games that bootstrap their like adoption only through guilds, because it means that where's the organic demand going to come from? Because guilds once they come in, the token goes through a very predictable like up and down cycle as we've seen in most games. Which kind of does make it a little bit harder for casual gamers to take a leap and come into the game. So it's a very, very complex question, I would say, but those are the kind of top three things to look at, like fun, sustainability of token model, and community. Whether it's something that we want to go big in, or we just want to kind of like dip our toes and see what happens.
Yeah, and community is very important because it's pretty much free marketing for the game. Because if you look at what happened to Axie Infinity about a year ago, everyone was talking about it, and the community was so strong, so it just blew up. And even now, obviously, it's not where it was a year ago, but the only reason it's able to survive this low period is because of how strong the community is, and it still is strong. Because if it wasn't strong, then Axie Infinity it would be dead right now. So
yeah, I think that's Axie is a great example of how a strong community essentially not ensures, but a strong community helps a game or a project tide through like rough patches. The Axie community is among the strongest, if not the strongest, in play to earn right now, and it's hard to take a bet against that. That's why we're still like deploying Axie scholarships, because that community is super strong, and like that's something that they've built over these years, right? And that's something that you can't just wash out with a bear market. So I think those are the kind of like the hallmarks of a strong project that we kind of look out for.
And I know that you guys are going to be launching a token. When is the token going to be launched? What is it, and what is the utility behind it?
So actually we're already live with our token.
Okay.
We're already listed on MXC. That's all right. But yeah, I mean the utility is really, we want to make sure that, and we're cooking up a lot of things in the lab. We want to make sure that our token has real utility for our users, and that means real utility for our players. Investors will, I guess, be very much economics driven, like whether the token goes up and when it goes down. But what I would say is a very sticky part of the community is always the players. And how do we use the token? How do we utilize that token to drive strong utility for our players? How do we enable certain things for them? And that's what we're working on with our game partners, and also with our own tech team, to see how can we enable certain behaviors and how can we enable certain positive outcomes for our players. So we're planning quite a number of things. I can't share that as yet, but over the next couple of months, we should be announcing those. So yeah, have a look at our socials, and hopefully can get some alpha there.
Awesome. We all like alpha. We like alpha.
Exactly.
So what are the requirements for becoming a scholar in Play It Forward?
So of course, the first requirement is a passion for gaming, and really just the love of gaming, right? So as we've seen through the ups and downs of Axie Infinity and these other play to earn games, the earnings can be quite volatile. So like what makes a player sticky and what makes a player kind of like continue to play is really that passion, that love for gaming, that love for getting better, that love for really understand and really getting to the top, that competitive drive to become the best player they can be in whatever game they play.
Okay.
But then I think, second of all, I think it's really the willingness to contribute to the community. I think what we've built is a community of very like-minded people, very passionate about play to earn, very passionate about this guild and this DAO that we built. And like scholars that want to come in, we will prioritize someone who wants to contribute, wants to climb that ladder, so to speak, that I shared about wanting to become more than just a 9 to 5 play to earn gamer. They want to be a streamer, pro player, or like a research analyst, or even something that we don't even know could be the next big GameFi career.
Okay, cool. And where can people go to become a scholar at Play It Forward?
So we like the main kind of like storefront we have is our Twitter page. So go at our handle is PIF_DAO.
I'll leave the links in the description.
Click the check out the links in the description. File an application on our website and join our Discord. Our admins will help you out, get you everything you need, answer all your questions. And after a couple of onboarding steps, very, very simple, like probably 1 or 2 steps, we can get you started and get your NFTs and be our scholar.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll leave the Discord link in the description below as well. I have applied to become a scholar at Railings University, and it was a very easy process. You just have to click a few buttons, answer a few questions, and you can be on your merry way and start playing and earning from Axie Infinity, Cyball, BCM Hunt, Pagaxi, and I think there's one more game.
Mechamorphic knows out just this week.
Yeah. There's too many games. I can't remember all the games, but it's a very easy process. And if you need help, the mods are very helpful, so they should be able to help you out there as well. And how do you keep yourself protected in a brand new space like NFT gaming? Like we see projects going up and down in price all the time. Surely that's a bit dangerous if you're running a business. So what are some measures that you're taking to minimize the effects from that?
I think that's a great question. So one is, of course, process is everything. So we have a process where how we analyze investments. As I mentioned, we do have players that come in and test the game, figure out how fun it is. We analyze the tokenomics. We analyze other qualitative stuff like the team, their background, development roadmap, and all that. Make sure that everything is kind of above board. That everything is kind of realistic and everything looks like it is something that's investable. We also, of course, have risk management. So we size our positions so that we're never too concentrated in one game, so that one game does not have a kill switch, so to speak, on the DAO, that if it crashes, then everything else falls apart. So we size our positions accurately, and we always fine-tune these positions as they grow or as they go down as well. And I think one of the key things is like we really take a very I would say as much as an unbiased view as we can. We speak to, of course, a lot of guilds. We get deal flow and pass deal flow on to them as well. We always say that don't follow the crowd just because everyone's going into one game. Doesn't mean we have to, unless we think that it's actually a viable investment opportunity. So it's hard. Like I don't think that any one of those is the right answer, but I think combination of those at least makes you consistent, so that you don't miss much, but they also don't go too heavy into something that's a bit like sketchy.
Yeah. And how do you build a long-term business in such a fast-paced world? Because all your a lot of stakeholders in the space, they want things done right now. Like they want to be a millionaire right now, but built in reality, like this stuff takes time. It takes years to build. So how do you satisfy short-term needs while not compromising long-term objectives?
I think that's a great question, and I think most people don't really appreciate that. Yeah, building good things take time, and building good things means that you often have to take decisions that sacrifice the short term for the long term. I would say that the main thing in trying to build a long-term project in such a fast-paced world is, one, of course, be humble. Business models change, industries change, and crypto especially can change in a day, right? As we saw in the last couple of weeks, and that's okay. Like your business model may not be relevant tomorrow, but that's okay as long as you have your North Star, your purpose, and like for us, that's like ensuring that we make play more rewarding. you can pivot and you can take. I think that's the beauty of a DAO as well. You can take a lot of input from various stakeholders and kind of distill that into something that kind of like hits everyone's kind of sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard taking like feedback from multiple stakeholders, but I would say that's kind of like really the challenge we've foisted upon ourselves, right? If you structure yourself as a DAO, decision making is not centralized. It's not easy, but
Yeah.
you got to make the best effort.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to the second point. I would say it's like community is it means making sure a community is on board and they are aware of the plans is very important, because once you lose your community, that's it. You've lost your kind of like guiding light, right? So
Yeah.
I think we always prioritize make sure the community is aware of what we're doing. We also take their feedback very regularly, and that's how you can kind of make sure that the decisions you make is not reactive, but more kind of like sustainable and really focused on your key objective.
Yeah. Awesome. Those are some awesome points you made there. Yeah, that's all the questions that I have for you today. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we end the conversation?
No, I think it's been a great conversation. I would just say some of the things that we're excited about here at Play It Forward. One is, of course, the evolution of play to earn to, I would say most people already say it's like play and earn, where it really becomes fun based first and the earning is second. And
Yeah.
we're excited what that will bring. We're excited about the Web 2 companies coming in and trying to make a name for themselves in Web 3. It will be interesting. I think it will it will evolve the space,
Yeah.
and I think the future lies somewhere in between what we see today and Web 2. And
Yeah.
no one knows how that combination will evolve, but we're excited to see it. And I really just how to address and adapt to that is very, very fun for people managing guilds and DAOs.
Yeah.
So I think that's really stuff we're excited about. We're here for the long term. We think Play to Earn is going through a rough patch, but it will emerge stronger, and I think it will emerge with much better, like kind of like focus around where we want to take this space, and we're very excited for that.
Yeah. I mean, like we said earlier, I think it just takes one game to break out for people to see the potential of play to earn or NFT gaming. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting times. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but it's going to be very exciting. And I truly
Really
think,
sign up for.
yeah, I think the people that stick around, they will be rewarded massively in the future. Not financial advice.
Yeah. DYOR.
Yes, DYOR. So where can people find Play It Forward? Twitter, Discord, anything else?
That's about it.
Okay.
Our guild, Brilliance University, also on Facebook, but that's only if you want to be a scholar. But for people who want to understand the community, get involved in a DAO, Twitter and Discord are the ones.
Check out the links in the description below, and I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. See you again on the channel very soon.